An FPS Roguelite Dungeon Crawler with RPG and looter-shooter elements. Dive into environments like dark temples and scorching deserts, all while trying to survive. I'm Evin from MindMine, and this is Gunfire Reborn. In this early access title, you'll be traveling through various indoor and outdoor environments, taking on a wide array of enemies, from longbowmen and shielded horse terracotta statues, to fire-flinging coyotes and ground-pounding bosses. The enemies just keep coming. Lucky for you, Gunfire Reborn gives you a huge arsenal to use against them. There are over 100 items and weapons to find, a permanent talent tree to enhance, and a temporary ascension skill tree to level up. Even though there is a huge arsenal for you to use, don't get too comfortable, as if you die, your temporary skill tree will reset. All of your items except your basic gun will be lost, and you'll have to start the levels over again. Now that we've gone through the summary of Gunfire Reborn, let's start getting into the specifics. First, let's break down the two current playable characters, their skill trees, and the permanent talent tree. When you start the game, you'll be playing as a mysterious alchemist from the spirit realm. As this character is a mystical alchemist, he has a magical energy orb he can launch at enemies, as well as corrosive smoke grenades. Once you reach level 30, you'll unlock the next character, Evin. He's a master of explosions and firearms. This character has a time-limited ability to dual-wield both of his weapons, and has explosive grenades he can throw about. Both heroes have a specific hero skill branch that is a part of the permanent talent tree of the player. In the permanent talent tree, you'll have 4 distinct branches. Expedition, which involves skills like obtaining bonus soul essence that can then be applied to level up your talent in the permanent talent tree. Survival, involving talents to boost health, shields, and the speed to which you can revive allies. Battle, this branch includes boosting ammo capacity and damage output. And finally, Hero. For the Alchemist, skills can increase energy orb recovery and smoke grenade radius. For Evin, you can increase things like explosive grenade damage and all damage while dual wielding. As this is the permanent talent tree, on death this will not reset, and you'll be able to put any soul essence from your previous run into the talents of this tree. While this talent tree is meant to boost broader aspects of the gameplay, there is also the temporary character ascension skill tree. Whenever you survive a section of the level you're in, you'll be able to open a blue chest. These chests have ammo, grenades, and a goblet. Once you accept the goblet, 3 skill enhancer options will appear. Some options are taking less damage from enemies while standing in your own smoke grenade as the alchemist, or increasing the amount of elemental damage enemies take. These enhancements, as mentioned prior, are temporary, so on death, they will reset. Next, let's briefly discuss weapons and items. Weapons randomly drop in different levels and are broken down between 7 different categories: rifle, submachine gun, pistol, shotgun, sniper, launcher, and injector. Each weapon has their own unique animation, sound, look, associated elemental damage type, and special traits. Weapon drops also have random stats that can be attached to them as well. For example, the Cavalry Burst Rifle does a 3-shot burst, and the 3rd shot auto-crits on hit. But each drop of this weapon could have random stat effects, such as a temporary increase of the rate of fire after a kill. As mentioned prior, weapons can also have an elemental damage type connected to them. Fire creates a burning effect that damages enemies over time. Electricity does additional damage to shields, and corrosive damages enemies over time while slowing their movement speed. Though these weapons can be a lot of fun to use and there are plenty of enemies to fight, you'll want to make sure to be mindful of the shots you take. Ammo reserves are limited between the 3 ammo types: normal, special, heavy, and you can only use one specific ammo type per weapon. So, have a weapon that you like but would like some of the stats slightly tweaked, or have the damage output increased? Make sure to keep an eye out for the craftsman who can hook you up if you've got the gold. Beyond weapon, ammo, and grenade drops, you'll also come across occult scrolls. These scrolls can be another way of enhancing your character and gameplay during your current run. For example, You may come across a scroll that, when in your inventory, will enhance your movement speed temporarily after a kill. These scrolls will drop from enemies or be obtained by vaults. Vaults are like bonus areas that you can access by shooting at glowing cracks in the wall. You'll have to face a trial of sorts, whether it's environmental-based or enemy-based, until you reach the end to receive your scroll. If you do find yourself in need of some additional health, a weapon changeout, ammo, or grenades, keep an eye out for the peddler. If you have the gold, the peddler may have just what you need.
So let's do a little Q&A here. Now that I have you guys here, what would you say would be 3 things this game needs and 3 things that you're happy it has?
Let's see. It needs more characters, which they're working on.
Yeah.
Something to add some variety.
It needs like a punch button or like something just to like do something when you're out of bullets and like extra damage when you're close.
Even if it's something similar to what like Left 4 Dead had, where it's really more to back up an enemy than it is to hurt it.
Yeah.
Either way they want to put it in. There's a couple times I did it just instinctually while we were playing. I was going to reload and the guy was in my face. I hit what I would think was a melee button.
Right. Yeah, I tend to have that itch too to do that.
The dungeons themselves kind of feel very claustrophobic. I think most of the times we died because we're getting stuck on things.
Yeah, because I can definitely feel that. There were times when I was soloing those 2 dark-faced rogues or whatever, and I felt like I was trying to have the back up, you know, and trying to cut to the left, to the right. Because you're in first person, it's so easy just to catch up on something. But then the problem is you have to like turn, which takes time away from fighting the enemy. You have to turn to see where it's at, and by that point they could already be charging you or something like that. So yeah, there's definitely like certain areas and quarters where I think like close quarters could work for you depending on the weapon, because you're creating a choke point. But if you're the one being choked, of course that really sucks. And trying to face that and overcome that and move quickly. And of course the dash kind of becomes, I think, null and void in a way. It doesn't have the same effect when you're locked in tight corners anyway. It's like, well, why have it? And I would say the same thing because of the aim assist that the enemies have. Sometimes it just feels like, why am I dodging when the arrow curves to hit me anyway? Or when that munition curves to hit me anyway?
So, but all in all, in my opinion, the game itself, it's super fun. I like the looting mechanics. I like the grinding, the kind of roguelite type of stuff. It obviously seems like they have the same idea like in Warframe, where the dungeons are randomly generated, and also kind of, you know, they have specific tile sets where they are randomly generated. Like most of the dungeons were seen
For
before.
the price of the game, it does a lot of stuff well. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like the game itself is super fun. I like it. It has like it has taken multiple ideas from different types of games, but the cool part is that they have taken the good ideas.
Yeah, I would say that one of the fun parts is when things sort of synergize. I know Anthem was trying to do this as well, where, you know, depending on the sort of class that you chose, different skills would kind of synergize with one another to do this sort of bonus damage effect. And I feel like in this it can work well too, where, you know, you have the alchemist and he throws the slow out, or the chain, basically that orb, and so you're doing damage, you're freezing the person in time, and then from there you can throw the smoke bombs there, and now they're getting dotted as well. You can have Aobai come in and start throwing explosives to help clear out any of the extraneous enemies that are coming in, sort of like the rank and file type of enemies. It really feels good when that kind of stuff happens, right? Like when you're all chaining stuff together, and, you know, and everything's just frozen, you're rocketing and you're unloading with like the hippo or something like that, and all of a sudden just everything is just bam boom, everything's exploding. All of a sudden you just have all this loot everywhere, you know? Like, I think that part is really fun, and I hope that they continue to try to figure out ways of getting characters to synergize, because I think that's what's really great about co-op in these type of games. It's not just the fact that you get to play with friends and what have you, which is still great, don't get me wrong, but like, it's also like, how do these characters actually work together? how do they not only fill in each other's strengths and weaknesses and balance that, but how can they come together to make something even bigger than themselves in a way, you know? And I think if they figure out ways of utilizing the grenades in that sense, and again, their special abilities. I mean, for example, you could have the alchemist with the orb, and then all of a sudden, Aobai comes in with dual wield and just starts unloading on an enemy, right? Though again, it would be great on a boss if the chain actually worked on the boss. It seems like with bosses and certain enemies, like kind of like what I want to say, like mini bosses, it seems to like chain very temporarily and then they break out of it. But like if you could get that stuff to actually stick and work, it could be really interesting because you can create a lot more dynamic opportunities.
Even if they just wanted to put that in a scroll that you have to get in order to be able to chain larger bosses, it gives you something to build to.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
I also wanted to mention, maybe not like, it seems like, okay, if by default you would be able to chain the boss, for instance, that I would see how that could be pretty, you know, overpowered, because like we are 4 and each of us has that ability, so we would constantly stun lock the boss where we would take it down in like its first wave to the half of health, right? So that it wouldn't give that challenge. But for instance, just like you said, where you would actually find a scroll that like, hey, this like now I can actually chain down the boss for like, you know, at least a second or two, where it seemed like when we threw the chain, the energy orb on the boss, it just made him just like, you know, just for the tiny millisecond, just like a hiccup, you know. But yeah, definitely in those scrolls. And also what I would like to see is the scrolls would stack. That would be also a pretty cool thing, I think.
About
The game definitely still needs work, but I like all the small touches they just got completely right. Like if you're in a lobby, you can still go back to the logbook and look at like your weapons, your unlocks. You can't do that in Risk of Rain. And when you throw like a grenade or use your skill or whatever, you can still reload. It doesn't stop your reload. You can reload, throw a grenade, and once you get your weapon back, it's reloaded. It doesn't stop it, which is just such a nice quality of life feature.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I agree on that as well.
Well, I think the customization is huge too in this game. You look at how many scrolls there are, for example, that can change up how you interact with the world and how you use your weapons, and you know, for how long you can use your weapons and everything, how much you heal for, and then you look at the types of weapons and their set stats and random stats as well. Like there's so much you can do in order to build out a very specific set of skills that can hopefully, ideally, if you're planning it out ahead enough in advance, can really help carry you through some of these fights. Yeah, 106 scrolls. You got 34 weapons as well, all different kinds, you know, with all different types of munitions, whether it's a lob effect or a direct shot, whether it's short range or long range, or you know, whether it's got a massive recoil to the weapon, or it's got munitions that, you know, shoot out multiple munitions at a time. You know, there's a lot of variety here too, especially once you get to unlocking the rest of the guns. Like I have 24 of 34 right now, and I think there's a pretty good assortment already with snipers and throwing knives and like almost like these trace rifles like you see in Destiny, and these orb guns and everything. Like it's really nice to already be seeing that variety pretty much as soon as you jump into the game. Yeah, that is a very good point. My one thing I would say is I would prefer to see less enemies who clearly are melee also have a range ability. I feel like the only characters I didn't see use a range ability were the bandits with the scimitars. They would literally just run up to you and swipe at you, right? But I feel like everyone else and their mother has some sort of crazy range ability. Even those dark-faced rogue chargers, they charge, they slam, they punch, but they also have a range ability too. And I feel like they need to probably back that down a little bit. because I don't know if maybe they're concerned with melee ability characters not being strong enough, but honestly, depending on your weapon type, if you've got a sniper and maybe you're out of the other ammo or just the base gun, and you have a melee on top of you, that's actually scary as shit. Like, that's gonna get me to run and move and try to dash away. But I feel like doesn't really happen that much, because, especially not until you get to the desert, because everyone has some sort of ranged weapon or some kind of range ability.
I do like that those two maps are very different. You go from a narrowed tunnel to a lot more wide open attack. What you do changes completely.
True, yeah, like that flow that you get in the temple, you can't use that same sort of flow and structure in the desert. It just does not work.
Gunfire Reborn is in early access and can be found on Steam. Check it out for yourself by clicking the links in the description section of this video. Have you played Gunfire Reborn? Share your thoughts of it in the comments. Finally, if you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. This way you can be notified when more content goes live here at MindMine.